Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oleg Nikitin, and we're ready to start. So today we're talking about the differences in video production and the cinematography in Russia, where I live, and in France, where lives my big friend. Hey, Pacôme, introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Pacôme Henry, and I'm a French filmmaker here based in Paris.
Based in Paris. Good, good.
Yeah.
So let me tell to the listeners a few words the way we met each other. So I shot a wedding of my friend back in France, and Pacôme was a guest, actually. And then I had another wedding in Paris, and we met to drink a couple of beers.
Sure.
Yeah. Very first question to you is how did you start all that?
It's hard to know the very moment when I started first because I've always been like filming my friends and recording our ski sessions because I live in near the mountains when I was a kid. So I was filming some ski and like editing these videos in old software called Pinnacle.
Yeah. I had the same one.
I don't know if you had the same one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, but that was a long time ago. So, and then I studied completely different stuff. I made a business school, and I studied a bit of philosophy as well. And I realized like business would not fit me, and I tried to make a kind of U-turn and find what really pleased me. So I knew video was cinema was a great field. I loved it because it was gathering all the things I liked: images, filming, music, and also intellectual things like philosophy and dialogues and stuff like that. I decided to try to work in that area. So I made another master degree in law about cinema in France, and I started to work in film financing. It was really interesting. I learned many stuff about how films get funded in France, but I still was a bit frustrated because it was still I was still not making it, but I was working for it in an administration way.
So you wanted the camera in your hands, right?
I didn't have any like camera in my hands, and I wanted that definitely. So I decided to stop that job and try it and start making films. So I started first 2 years ago. I started to make some videos for friends back in my business school who had launched their business project. They had some startups, like they wanted some crowdfunding videos or advertisement videos. So I started like that, and then from one project led to another project, and I'm still working on bigger projects. Like I really like to make films. I still haven't made any like feature, but I'm working on it.
Well, making a feature is a hard thing. but it sounds cool. It sounds like you're getting to it, like you're making a step by step.
Yes, exactly. I'm kind of lucky in the way that I was paid at the very first project I made. It was not a big money, it was not a big deal, but I was still being paid for what I made. So my job, my work was recognized. And I know a lot of friends who just had to quit everything and then, be admit that they will be poor for 1 year and not be paid for months.
Yeah.
So I started in the business way. So the challenge is to go from business to art, I would say. It's still like a balance I have to find.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. So you said that you have started like 2 years ago. And what was the first gear you used? The first camera, the first lens?
My first camera was a Canon 70D, and I guess I had like the kit lens coming with it.
Like
It
18,
was
18 to 55 or 18 to 135?
yes, probably 18 to 135. That was the zoom lens. With not a very great aperture, not a good, but it was still okay. You know, it was very good for a
That's the better start than I had.
beginning. Probably. What was yours?
It was Canon 650D, but it still was okay
When was it?
back in 2013.
Okay. Yeah.
Then I switched in 2015 to 6D, and in 2016 to my current camera A7S II.
Yeah.
And it's
I got the same.
yeah, you got the same. So this is my next question: how did the gear change?
Well, it changed a bit more than 1 year ago, when I had like 1 year of filming with my Canon 70D, which I really enjoyed, but I understood it had limitations. It was not full frame, and I couldn't mount with like better lenses on it. So I really wanted to make a step deeper into my profession. So I started to ask myself what I should get, and then a friend of mine, like a very good friend of mine, who had been filming for way more years than I had, was filming on an A7S II. I don't know, it really convinced me to go from Canon to Sony, because they were like, you know, innovating a lot. At that time, they were the first mirrorless camera, full frame cameras.
Yeah, nowadays they're not anymore.
Nowadays, they're not anymore. He just convinced me, and he introduced me to like Facebook groups, who were like Facebook communities were very active, discussing gears and stuff. So I could ask a lot of questions to these guys, and then it went quite fluid.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is a little disclaimer. Pacôme had a lawnmower under his window, so that is why we're having this noisy, bad sound. We are very sorry, but here is the life in Paris. Thank you. You know, it always reminds me a change of religion, kinda. When you switch from Canon to Sony, from Sony to Panasonic or whatever. Fuji is now are pretty good.
And then you have the very harsh time learning the new way to deal with it.
The learning curve is huge for those who are coming from Canon to Sony's, and actually I guess 5 friends of mine were kind of my, you know, students, and I learned together with them, and I taught them how to use the camera, all the settings and all that stuff. It was it was fun, because everybody was like, "Hey, I bought Sony. I need your help." And I was like, okay. Trying to switch.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me please, what are your main kind of goals and the main videos you make? I heard that it was most of all like ads and, you know, some maybe a short film, no?
So that's 2 different questions. The main things I do are currently more like ads. Any kind of ads for any kind of platforms. It could be YouTube, it could be Instagram. So I make a few stories as well now. Like I turned into editing in vertical. Like editing
stories.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And my main goals are to shoot movies and to make feature movies. I'm currently working on a short film, I'm writing 2 shorts, sci-fi short film, and the other one would be more like a road movie, something like that. We still don't know if it will be a short or a long, because we put so many things in it that it could become a long or even a series, you know. so we'll have to shorten it. I'm still training myself because I started on my own. So I mean, ads and music videos are the best way to train and to get things done.
Yeah, for sure. So do you have like a group of colleagues or something that are going to help you during the short movie shooting?
We don't have like a crew, but I have a few friends that are working on in that area, and some are directors. Like the road movie I'm writing is with a girl that already she's a director, and she's got her first documentary showing on TV like in a few months, I guess. I have also friends that are producers that really helped me, and I'm working a lot with them. Like we have a very good relationship, and they really helped me making more corporate videos, getting like better brands and bigger contracts. I'll probably turn to them as for production. You know, it's still in the writing process, so we still didn't ask anyone for the moment. We didn't like, it's not readable, so we can't make it read by anyone. So, and also the fact that I worked in the financing sphere before in the film funds, I have some. I hope I have some contacts there that can help me someday.
Yeah, sure. Sounds great. Okay, so also you told me about your kind of contacts in finance, movie finance sphere. So I got a tricky question. So can you kinda tell me the possibilities to actually earn money in France being a videographer? And I guess there should be kind of 3 categories. So the first one is like a freelance filmmaker, I don't know, wedding shooter, ads shooter, I don't know, commercials, something like that. The second one, also a freelance, but as a production, maybe a couple of friends or 2-3 people as a production company making a little bigger ads, a little bigger production projects and so on. And the third one is movie, actually making some, I don't know, features, short films. So what are the possibilities? Is it easier to earn than being an employee on the regular job, or what?
I wouldn't say any is easier than the other. I would say all the 3 categories have their pros and cons, but probably it's easier to be a freelance guy that is working with companies on his side, and also production companies. That's the way I work now. The problem is that you will never be able to make like huge money from that. If you're still freelance on your own, then you will have the contract that you can handle on your own. But for bigger contracts, then you need like bigger team. You know, videographers get in contract with production companies, a real work contract, you know, a real job contract. I don't know what to call this. Sometimes it can be exclusive, like you only work for this production company, and this production company will put you on some project they think you are the best at. Then, of course, on the production side, it's hardly impossible to do it alone. As you said, you have to be a couple of friends, a group of friends to start something. Like you have to bring a lot of contracts to the business. Otherwise, you will be dead in 1 year or even less. A regular model for production companies, I mean young production companies, is that on one side they do a lot of ads to earn money, and then this money they invest it in either on music videos or in features, developing features. I guess it's probably the same in Russia. You gotta you gotta make money at one side to invest it on the other side. This kind of research and development will lead to probably one short movie or another short movie, and then one of them will be recognized in festival, and then you'll have more notoriety, and then you can make more films. That's that's the way it works.
That's the balance. You gotta find the balance between making something for money and between making something for your kind of your soul, or your your heart, just something that inspires you most. The best way is to make that that inspires you, and also you're getting paid for it. But it's a dream most of the time.
Exactly, and some artists and some people just don't want to make compromise, and I'm still wondering what's the best way, because if you do not make compromise, if you don't want to I would say business stuff like doing advertisement, doing corporate films that you would not like, then probably you're like more into art, and maybe you are more in a way efficient coming up with your ideas, because if you mess all the time with business contracts and administrative stuff, and it asks a lot of energy, and this energy you can't put it in art after that. So that's why some are like able to say, okay, I won't be living comfortably, but I don't care. I just want to make one thing that I'm very, very proud of, and then this thing will probably lead me to another one. And that's probably the last category we were talking about, like, movie makers. It's a tough one. Like, if you really are interested in movies, you need to make sacrifice at some point.
Mm-hmm. So that's the hardest one.
That's our hardest one, but it once again it depends on what movies you make. Also, let's go more in details in the way French cinema works. It's probably one of the best cinema economy in the world. A lot of countries, a lot of cinematographers around the world, they come to France because things are possible. These big commercial movies that make a lot of that sell a lot of tickets, they are actually funding the whole cinema economy. There is a tax system that every time that works this way. Every time you go to the cinema, you buy a ticket. Probably half of it will go to the state and to the ministry, to the culture ministry, that will then redistribute it to the whole sector. So in that way, big commercial movies are very, very good are very healthy for the whole cinema industry. But on the other hand, the problem is that you always will, like, as it is mostly funded by banks, because you need some bank credit to be able to make your movie. Like, you start a project and you go to see the TV channels or the distributors, and you say, I have this project, and they will say, okay, I will invest 1 million or 500,000 in your movie by the time it is delivered. So you have this contract. Okay, they will give me 500, but then you will need to shoot your movie. So you need to pay the teams that are working, and you pay them by week. But you still don't have the money from the distributors, from the other part of the production. So you need to turn to banks that will say, okay, I take the contracts on my hands, and I know that this distributor owes you 500. So I will lend you the 500 until you make the movie. And by the time it is done, the distributor will reimburse the bank directly. So that's why we really need banks to work as a an intermediate for the money you don't have, but you will have by the time your movie is done. And that leads me to the problem that banks are always more able to lend to rich people. They won't lend you if you haven't made any movies before, if you're like not well known, if you don't have any well known actors. So that's why the problem that's a bit tricky, this part, because the bank only work as an intermediate. The production companies during the old times, the production companies would be the one that have a lot of money and would invest, like fathers giving to their sons without return on investment. Nowadays production companies are kind of poor. They don't have any more money, like they just have to find it. So they turn to big distributors, to international resellers, to any places that will take part to the process, and they sign contracts with them. So they have on one side the distributor that will give 500, on the other side the theater that will put this much, on the other side that brand that will appear in the movie, like Heineken. Okay, I give you 1 million for this. So they gather all this money. And they say they gather all these contracts because they don't have the money in their hands. It's just contracts. They will say, once the movie is done, I will give you the money. So, but in the process, then the movie has to be done. Otherwise, they won't get the money. And the producer work kind of they gather everything and then they make everything happen. And you, as a movie director, you are not supposed to deal with that. You're just supposed to choose your team and direct the movie and then make decisions on the art side. But the production company will say, well, sorry, on this shot, we need to have this brand appearing, like Heineken beer, otherwise we won't get the money. So you make compromises this way. And then by the time it is done, they all reimburse the bank, because the bank was the one that was making the intermediate to make the movie be created. And as a movie director, then you get paid by the company, by the production company.
According to the contract.
According to the contract. But then in the contract, it can be said, if the movie makes more than 500,000 entries, then you will have a bit more on every entry, on every ticket.
Every person.
But before that, you need to reimburse everyone. And
okay, I got it. So it's kind of a system of insurance. Yeah, it is clear. It is clear. It's a system of insurance for the bank and for the production company and for the distributor to be sure that the movie is done and they're not losing their money. Okay.
Exactly.
to sum up. Speaking of those three categories, so a freelance filmmaker, a small production company, and a movie making kind of stuff, which one is more preferable? Which one is, best for you? Which one works for you best?
I'm now a freelance videographer, and I work with the production companies, but I'm still on my own,
Solo actor.
So I can work so I can work directly with small companies that don't need a production company. I came to that point where I was asking myself, should I become or should I start a production company? If I do that, if I find, first I can't do it alone. I have to find friends. And if I do that, I will be into the production business. And that's what I was going away for, like step by step, and I realized I really want to make it, to create it, to shoot, to edit, to learn by doing this stuff, So if I start my production company, then I will be in the production business, and I will have to deal with contracts
with
and
papers,
administration work, paperwork, and I mean, it can be very exciting if it's your baby, if it's I mean your baby, your production company. You know, if it's your stuff, it can be very exciting. But that's really not what I want to do right now.
So you're kind of jumping from the first to the third class of it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Sounds cool. So speaking of my little story, I also started as you as a single videographer, but then I realized that big companies, they do need a name, a huge name, and getting a name, being one person in the whole production, they're not ready to to let me do all that stuff. And when you say, hey, we are the production company, we have we all the time they hear we. So that means that a lot of people, but actually there are only two people in our production company, me and my colleague. So then we're getting bigger and bigger contracts. To let you understand, the sum of money is the biggest contract of my own was kind of 700 euros, more or less. After a year of working in the production sphere, we had a 3,000 contract. So it's like more than 3 times, almost 4 times. Yeah. But actually, that was me who made all of the production process. So I was the shooter, I was the editor, the colorist, the grading process, everything. So the same person made kind of the same content, but is getting 4 times more than before.
Because of that company structure. Kind of the same here.
Is it possible to earn more than the average salary, kind of the average, employee in France being a freelance videographer? Because in Russia, I can totally say that it is possible to earn more being a freelance videographer.
Yes, it is also totally possible to earn more than the average. Actually, the average in France, which is probably way more up than in Russia, is still quite low. I don't know. It really depends on how hard you're ready to work.
For example, if I'm working really hard, I'm getting the content done and better than average shooters in Paris, for example. Is it possible to make, 10,000 euros a month?
I guess it is. I don't know anyone who is making that much money, but I guess it is possible.
Mm-hmm. So the people maybe the sums, kind of, I don't know. You know that this guy earns, you can say like, the guy whose name is doesn't matter, he earns, for example, 4,000, 5,000 on a regular basis, like from month to month.
Kind of like French people have a kind of a taboo on money. It's weird. We're not like English people who can talk freely about it. So I don't really know how much my friends and my friends make, but I know that some are very comfortable and they would probably earn 4,000, 5,000 a month. It is totally manageable.
Yeah, that's enough for me. Just I wanted to know the difference, the possibilities, and all that stuff.
So, talking about me, like last year, I was, I guess I earned, after taxes and everything, like 1,500 a year. A month on the whole year. So I was kind of still low compared to what could be done. But I have great hopes for this year that I can make 2,000.
Okay. Speaking of taxes, so in terms of official employment, being a freelancer, because in Russia we're having a system which is called we're entrepreneurs, and we're paying 6% of the salary.
It's so low, man.
Yeah, I'm paying 6% to the government from each
Mm-hmm.
gain, from each sum of
Yeah.
money that comes to me officially.
Yeah, which is like which is not your salary, but your
It's not the salary; it's my
yeah, your gain,
my
your
gain.
total
Yeah,
gain.
yeah, gain.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. We have kind of the same. We have kind of the same status. Like we're auto entrepreneurs, like entrepreneur on your own. But if I tell you how much we pay to the state, you'll be scared. It's like 25,000, 25%,
25%.
between 20 to 25%. Depends on what branch you are, but it also depends on what status you're at. Yeah, that's why people earn more,
Mm-hmm. But they pay
but
more
they also
taxes.
pay way more taxes. But I don't know. I'm kind of happy to pay taxes to the state because then I have like a great social security, and every time I'm sick, I can go to the doctor and it will be free or almost free. Big insurances that can help me for life accidents. So that's also the counterpart you have to
Sure.
to bear in mind.
Actually, in Russia, the system is called a simplified system of taxes. It's made to kind of to boost the young people to be self-employed entrepreneurs and so on, and to bring more money to the government, and that is why the taxes right now are lower, and it is called the simplified system. The regular system is 18%, if I'm not mistaken. When you're getting salary, like you're employed and you're getting the real salary, it's 18% of taxes.
Yeah, it's closer. Yeah. And we have also this kind of simplified stuff. Like if you have an unemployment period and that you're registered to the government for being unemployed, then the day you want to start your company as a solo entrepreneur, you will benefit for lower taxes for 3 years. And it's graduate, like the first year it's 5%, the second year is 10%, the third year is 15%, and then you go to 20 to 25,
Okay.
like the regular basis.
In Russia, we call it like tax vacations.
Yeah.
So, Pacôme, tell me, please, have you visited other countries of Europe as a videographer?
It's funny because I went to China for a school, for a first an exchange program and then an internship, and that's where I decided to turn to cinema. I was not there for a videography project, but I had my camera with me and I kept shooting all the time. But I was like another Canon PowerShot something A7, I don't know what. Still okay, but you had like this only one lens on it, not removable, and that's where I shot a lot of stuff, and I saw a lot of movies actually, which is kind of weird for China, like Chris Marker. I don't know if you know this guy.
I guess you gotta send me the link.
Yes,
all
I
the
will.
links
I
are
will
in the
definitely.
description, and just link all
Oh,
the
yeah.
people you're just a fan of or you've talked about.
Yeah. Yes, like I discovered the work of Chris Marker, who is dead right now, and he was to me was like the greatest cinematographer of all time, with his Russian friend actually, Andrei Tarkovsky,
right?
who you probably know.
Yeah, sure.
And I discovered it at the same time, and wow, I was amazed by their work, and this made me want to. It's kind of weird because it's in China where I discovered a French guy and a Russian guy who made me want to work in cinema industry.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, but let's return to Europe. So, is it popular?
Yeah, that was not Europe at all. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And is it popular for European guys, for French guys, to travel all over the Europe, shooting different projects? It is much easier, I guess, to travel all over the Europe because of the European Union, and to get the job from different countries. You know, like I don't know, in Spain, for example, or in Germany.
It is very easy to travel all through Europe, but the problem is that French salaries are quite high compared to other countries in Europe. If I go to Spain, I will probably be asking more than a Spanish photographer or videographer or anyone. So that doesn't happen a lot actually, because if I ask more or if I'm being paid less, then why would I go there? And why would they take me if a Spanish guy can do it, you know? Or if a Russian guy can even come to France, shoot a wedding for even cheaper than a French guy, you know?
I do know that.
You do know. But, you know, the problem is probably money and what we ask for.
So it works vice versa. So people from other European countries, most of all, come to earn to Paris, to France.
I don't know that many people who cross borders to work in videography, like 1 hour and a half plane, and then you shoot, and it's basically the same. In the same day, you can come back to Paris and start editing.
So let me say, this is a great. This is the opportunity you have, but most of the time you're just shooting inside of France.
Exactly. Yeah. To sum up with that, like you would probably have many opportunities to go abroad, but
travel mostly.
To travel. Yeah.
Okay.
But you have there's a lot of work in France. It's okay with the salary, so why turn to other countries?
So you French guys are lucky ones.
Yeah, we are pretty lucky about it.
Okay, good. Have you ever tried to put some of your work to the web as stock footage or something like extra earns from your work, not just being paid from the client straightly, but something else like stock footage, like I don't know, something else?
Actually, I haven't, and that's a great idea. I should try to do that. Do you?
Actually, we are aiming at stock websites, but I'm just interested if you're earning only straight from the clients, or you have something else, just like, I don't know, teaching someone something, or, you know, all that stuff. Or maybe renting your gear, for example.
Yeah, I have... I used to have another part-time job, but I was like totally different in another field. I was renting some small boats on a pond in a garden in Paris. It had nothing to do with videography, but now I'm fully dedicated to my work, and I'm only making money through clients and artists for music or labels, but I should definitely try to make some money from other
sources.
Sources. Like renting stuff is I don't know if I can do it, because I'm so close to my gear that I won't be able to see someone touching it, you know.
Okay, that's just the question, because I do rent my gear from time to time.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do, but you know, it's so little, like very little gain from it. So it's kind of more of helping to my friends than gaining. It's not worth it, nah. It's just a part of being a friend.
Okay, because like for me, like I rent to people. I mean, I don't rent my gear; I rent their gear. It's very, very helpful. Like we have this website or an app which is called Lighty Share, and it's so handy. Like you can contact any particular guy who has this lens or this tripod or this stuff, and it will be done in the hour, you know, and then you can give him back the material whenever you want, what time you want, you decide together, so you don't have to mess with opening hours and stuff.
I guess we need to make kind of this service here in Russia because we don't have this. We have some rental kind of shops where you can rent the gear, but it's also it works from 10 to 10, 10 a.m., 10 p.m. And every time there is something missing, and every time it's kind of not cheap. And it's more simple for people to just contact to a guy and to come. Maybe this guy lives next door. You never know.
Exactly. It's way more practical, and it also can make you meet great people, like future collaborators, probably. I don't know. Who knows?
Sure. Cool. Social network for videographers. Cool. That's great. Okay. So pre-last question. Almost done. So it will be kind of a wide topic. What inspires you most?
Wow, wide topic. Probably music. It is something that in which I'm not good. I try to do music, but I really suck. I'm always like amazed when I see a great gig or when I hear a great album. It brings a lot of images to my mind, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the same works for me.
Okay, that's you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do know.
It's funny because the other one would be probably books. Something I'm probably better at is writing. I've always secretly wanted to be a writer. It inspires me a lot. A third would be filmmakers, movies like Tarkovsky's movies I've seen. I told before, Chris Marker, and so many directors I cannot even make a list, you know. First music, then books, and then movies, and also nature. Nature inspires me a lot. You know, I grew up in the Alps, in the mountains. You know, you've been there. You came to Annecy.
Annecy, yeah.
You saw it on with your eyes. It's really inspiring. It's an inspiring place, you know.
Gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. You got these mountains. You got this fog. Some days, you got some ice growing on the lake. Some in the winter, and in the summer, it's like so bright you cannot even open your eyes. An unstoppable source of inspiration.
Yeah, that's an inspiring place because when I was there, it was like, oh man, look here, look there, that's beautiful. Oh, that's awesome.
You were so excited. That was really funny, and I was excited too to to bring you to that mountain and then to the lake. That was really fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, sure. Okay, and the last question for today's conversation. What's your advice in terms of YouTube channels, Instagram pages, podcasts, maybe books, maybe movies, documentaries, which will help youngsters to learn a lot? Maybe you can just send me the links to your best and favorites Instagram profiles and so on.
For learning, like purely learning, I don't know any Instagram channel. I'm really bad at Instagram, you know. I have a very low amount of subscribers, and I really don't know how to get more. But anyways, I would say YouTube was like best and the worst teacher at the same time, you know, because the best, because sometimes you just find the exact thing you want to do, and with like so well explained by some guy, but also the worst because it always brings you to so many stuff that you will lose yourself. So you have to be very, very disciplined.
And careful.
But there are a few channels I really don't have them in mind, but I can check and send you the link if I find them. So YouTube would be my first place. Like books and documentaries would be more like to practice your art vision. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing Tarkovsky. Sorry, I'm talking about him all the time. Tarkovsky's masterclass about his films, and it was in Rome, I guess, or in Venice, in Italy, and it's so inspiring. It's like, wow.
Shame on me. I didn't see that.
It's called something like cinema is a mosaic of time, something like that. And it's really cool, and it's in Russian, translated in Italian. So I watched it with English subtitles, and it's like, yeah, like cinema was not only art for him; it was like a fight, an everyday fight, and you're learning stuff that is hard to learn anywhere else. I don't see any YouTube channels learning this stuff. On YouTube it would be more technical
it's
stuff.
always more technical and more of a kind of let me say, it's on the surface, not really deep.
So master classes are a really good way to learn and to see like deep things, to inspire you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. That was a pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure for me too. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast with Pacôme, my friend, mon ami.
I hope you will.
Peace.
Okay, goodbye everyone.